what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it, and we hope you enjoy it. All right, let's, though, talk about expectation for this LSU football team. It's a 12-team playoff. We've said in the past, if you're paying Brian Kelly $10 million a year and you look at the history of what LSU has done, more often than not, even though we did this game and you would have made it, right under 50% of the time? I think over whatever sample size we looked at, maybe it was like a decade or something along those lines. And so the question becomes, is this playoff or bust for LSU? Where do you think this LSU team will finish after what you saw in spring?
I do think it's playoff or bust, but that should be the expectation for LSU, I think, every single year. And I think that anybody across the street on the Ponderosa would tell you that as well. So, this year isn't different. This year is going to be the same. And you're replacing 3 first-rounders on one side of the football. But that side actually looks up and I think can be competitive with most units in the SEC. Now, you know, the offensive line, when you have this ability there, that's always going to give you an opportunity, T-Bob, and we talked about that. You have the best, I think, offensive line in the country. I truly believe that. If it's not one, it's top 5, regardless of who you talk to. Best bookend tackles, I think. And so you had the stability there. You're breaking in a new quarterback, but somebody that you've seen for multiple years come in and play. Now, that's not starter. We know that. But, that gives you at least an idea of who he is. And so, yes, you're replacing a lot on that side of the football. But just think about it. Last year, you had a defense that was one of the worst in the country. You had a defense that was so bad it cost you in every game that you had that you lost. It wasn't ever the offense. It was just one side of the football. And, in fact, the offense won you multiple games despite a horrid defense. The A&M game's the most glaring one to me. It took Jaden being Superman and the receivers being, Superman in the end zone, some of those fades.
Beat a bad A&M team.
So when you look at what you have coming back on offense, when you look at changing everything on defense, and you finished one spot out of the playoff last year, then, you should expect to go to the playoff. That should be the standard. You are supposed to be a standard of college football. You've got the second most national championships in the last couple of decades, right? There's only, the last 25 years, there's only, 2 teams with 3 or more. Now, Alabama has, 6.
Well, and you obviously have the key advantage of it's 3 different coaches.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia only has 2, Ohio State only has 2, Florida only has 2. You're in rarefied air. It's you and Alabama. Again, Alabama has double. We get that. We understand that. But you're in that category there. So it should be. And I think anything less is not LSU football.
So that's an interesting answer in terms of the expectations should be on a year in and year out basis based on the program. But with what you saw out of this team, is that your expectations for this team?
I'll say yes.
Okay.
I'll say yes.
I think I'm hedging my bets a little bit. I think I'm erring on the side of pessimism.
Now, T-Bob, full disclosure, I don't have them number 1 team in the country. I've got them closer to 12 than 1.
Yeah, hell yeah. I mean, I got them right in that 15 range. I think. Okay, you probably get what you guarantee get 3 SEC teams in a 12-team playoff. Correct? You believe that?
Yeah.
Whoever wins the SEC will get in. The second place team will get in. 3 will get in. Maybe 4. Okay. Who would be the number 1 team in the SEC? Georgia?
Yeah, Georgia, coming
in. 2 and 3. Where are we at?
You got to think Ole Miss is either in 2 or 3, right?
That is their expectation, absolutely. And no, it sounds weird to say that before the season about Ole Miss, but yes, that is the money they have put into this roster, the momentum that they built over last year, to last 2 years. 100% Ole Miss believes that they should be 2 or 3. And then do you put Texas in there at 2 or 3? I mean, I got questions about Texas, right? Sark, this is still an outlier year. You're replacing the 2 best interior defensive tackles in the country. You lose A.D. Mitchell. You lose Xavier Worthy. Now, they have a ton of talent coming up, and they return Quinn Ewers, which is crucial. But, they lost all of their weapons. But I still feel and look, and there's still Kalen DeBoer in Alabama. So what I'm saying is for LSU to make the playoff, you have to be better than 2 of Texas, Ole Miss, and Alabama. And I don't know that when I look at this LSU team right here that I can get there quite yet.
I don't think people are like, I agree with you on Texas. The book's still out on Texas because they are, just like LSU, they're losing some big names in the draft. The strength of their defense was up the middle. They lose all of that. The strength of their offense was Quinn Ewers' big plays of receivers. They lose both those guys.
Yep.
They had
And
an all-conference
Brooks,
running
right?
back.
Yeah.
That if he was not injured would be the only running back in the conversation of a first-rounder.
Yep.
So they do lose a lot. Now, they've recruited well. It's Texas, just like LSU. All right, you're in the same position. For Ole Miss, I do not want to throw slander because I think they've done a really nice job of adding players. But we don't know how those players that you add fit into your system, right? You add a lot of talented players that were other places that weren't great. That's why they left. Like you add some A&M players. A&M had a bad season. Okay, so we have to see how all of that integrates itself. Now, Ole Miss's schedule is probably the thing that's going their way. It is a bad schedule.
Yeah.
Good for them, bad as far as the teams that they're playing. So, but you play in the SEC, so that doesn't really matter. All right, you go out there, you win your games. But Ole Miss taking that jump from a really, really good team to an elite team, we have to see that happen. We don't know. It's big unknowns for Alabama. It's unknowns for Oklahoma. So there's a lot of question marks in the SEC. Tennessee, I know Aaron loves, me and Aaron were talking about it on Monday. Aaron loves Tennessee, and there's a lot to like. Tennessee and LSU are kind of
There's a lot of teams that have a lot to like, but again, there's only limited
That's what I'm
spots.
saying.
All these fan bases feel like today they should make the playoffs.
So of teams that in the SEC that I feel like Georgia, you can go and put them in there. They're going to be there. It doesn't matter what happens. They will be in the 12-team playoff. And then you start getting into the question marks about Ole Miss and Texas and LSU and Tennessee. So it is open in Alabama. It is open, and I think LSU is in that conversation of those teams to go get those last couple of spots. I only think there's one right now absolute in the SEC, and that's Georgia.
Yeah, and again, Ole Miss would have made it last year. They would have been that last team from the SEC, and so
And LSU was what, one spot away, right? They finished 13th.
Yeah, and look, you know,
Or
you
two
had
spots,
a
I guess, with a group of 5
Hilton
team.
ball in the end zone that hit his hands that would have flipped that on its head. So these are the margins, right? But I definitely don't know that. I think there's just too many questions on this LSU team right now, top to bottom, for me to say that I think they'll finish better than all those teams we just got into. Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.